I think it's vital that we not simply try to match authorities. It isn't a matter of trying to find out how many contemporary theologians believe that Matthew came before Mark or Mark came before Matthew. It seems to me we have to cut behind the opinions of contemporary scholarship, and certainly behind the Encyclopedia Britannica, to the kinds of reasoning employed to reach conclusions here. And then, on the basis of the reasoning, we can legitimately draw our own conclusions. And I think we can see why contemporary scholarship has been tending in a certain direction. The approach to take to these documents, and I think Mr. Nayland would entirely agree with this, needs to be the same kind of an approach that we would take with other historical documents. There isn't a special kind of historiography for the New Testament. The historiography is the same as we would apply to Roman remains, Greek remains, and so on down the line. And if we do this, we're going to have to determine, first of all, whether the texts as we have them have reached the present in substantially the condition in which they were originally written. That's the field of textual criticism. And here, there is no question but what, if we have reliable documents anywhere, we have them here. We have, for example, Sir Frederick Kenyon, who was the greatest of the textual critics of the last generation, who said toward the end of his life, the trouble here is not too few sound documents, it's too many, so that we have a considerable difficulty in knowing just what to do with so much good stuff. The textual tradition takes us back so that we can be quite sure that what we have today is what was originally written. Now, when was it originally written? That takes us to the second question. Was this material contemporaneous with Jesus? Or was it written by people at a later time and presented as if it had been written by contemporaries? Well, here again, what we have to do is to go to the sources, particularly to any external evidence of authorship. And the reason why Albright and J.A.T. Robinson can't come to the conclusion that this stuff was all written within a generation of the events, all written by baptized Jews, the stuff was in circulation before the end of the century, is that we have extrinsic statements from people who actually knew the apostles, stating that the material was written by the people to whom it was traditionally attributed. We have, as I mentioned before, Papias and Polycarp, both of them students of John, both of them stating that John wrote his gospel and giving us vital information on the production of the other gospels. For example, Matthew's gospel, the first gospel, was written in Aramaic, says Papias, and it was written by Matthew Levi, the tax collector, who was one of the original apostles. So we have Matthew's gospel and John's gospel definitely written by people who knew Jesus personally. We've got Mark's gospel written by John Mark, who was a companion of Peter, and we've got Luke's gospel written by a companion of Paul. And this is not based upon Encyclopedia Britannica or the opinion of some contemporary scholar. It's based upon those who claim that they actually did have contact with the apostolic circle. Now, this puts us in a very, very solid position historically to be able to evaluate the statements in these documents. Of course, these people might have been engaged in some incredible fraud, but the burden of proof is going to rest upon us to show that, because documents, like people, should be considered innocent until proven guilty.
But the historical reality is not that simple. Do you disagree that Matthew had a copy of Mark before him? Do you disagree with that? Or do you...
I don't know for certain that he did, but I would have no problems with this. Certainly Luke had source material. He declares that he did. He says that he used other materials relating to Jesus in doing his own gospel. And it seems to me that when you look at the content of Luke and the content of Mark, you see that one or the other used the other as a source.